Can you hear me now? I've been literally talking for the past like 30 minutes by myself entirely, no audio. Let's see if the audio is working now. Yeah, and now it works. Okay, fun. That means that the audio wasn't working. So, I'm gonna re explain. I'm gonna re explain the whole process. So, I'm sorry about that, guys. If you're watching the video, we're just starting the audio now. If you're not watching live, if you're watching later, we're just starting with the audio now. But if you've been watching what I've been doing, it's pretty much self-explanatory. I just did, I just imported this mesh. And I'm so excited to have you here. Um, I've been meaning to do this for a while, and I am so glad that we're finally here. Um, so I'm working on this model right now. I was sculpting this on ZBrush because I'm learning ZBrush on my iPad, and then I just imported. Um, so this is what I imported. I imported this like OBJ. So all that I did here was I already had my model from the file, and the model originally looked like that. So I just click both of them. First, the model that I imported. Secondly, my model that is already here. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go on the arrow right here and join as shapes. When I do that, both of them look the same. So that's the one that I imported from ZBrush, and that's the one that I already had. But keeping in mind that the only reason why I can do that is because they are the same base mesh. So they have the same vertex count. Um, if it's not identical, if it's not the exact same number of vertices, you cannot do that. So it has to be the same mesh. Um, and then I did some refining, and here she is. This is our reference, and this is our model. Um, Also, you have questions. Yeah, yeah, go ahead. You can ask me questions like throughout the whole process. Please don't be shy to ask me questions. In one of your videos was one function of sculpting to do sculpting symmetrical. Yes. When I rotated my model, like in the reference picture, it's not working because it's not exactly straight. So is it true that only solution is to try to find a picture of a face being straight for corrective sculpting? Okay. Um, you don't have to necessarily do just a straight face. You don't have to necessarily just do looking straight at the camera. So what you can do is, let me do another reference. For example, if I only had this one, if I only had this picture, what I would do is I would come to my camera and I would rotate the camera so my character is still facing forward, but the camera is coming from the side. So for us to do that, I will add an empty plane axis, and I will place right in the middle. For some reason, when I'm importing the empty for this file, it's not zeroed out the location. You see that's off to the side. I don't know why that's happening. But all I gotta do is change those to 0. Okay, now it's zeroed out, meaning that it's gonna be right in the middle, right on 0. I'm gonna put this empty object aligned with her head. And now that I have that, I can select the camera, select empty, and I'm going to parent with keeping transform. What does that mean? That means that whatever change that I do to this empty, I'm also doing to the camera. And you're gonna see what I mean that by that in a second. So let me duplicate this camera. I'm gonna select the camera, select empty, and then I'm gonna do Control P, and I'm gonna do parent, and I'm gonna keep transform. So now that I've done that, when I rotate, this empty right here, I'm also rotating the camera. Now you're viewing the character from the side, but you can preserve the symmetry. So for example, uh, let me let me do the. Oh, oops. Let me. Where's the empty? Let me rotate the empty, and then I can just go on the scope mode, and let's say that I want to match and make a little bit more, um, like of a bigger cheek. I will use inflate, and then it's doing on both sides. Yeah, this trick, honestly, this is why I love having you ask me questions, because I didn't know either, and I had done so many projects that were completely wrong because I was trying to move my subject instead of moving the camera. But also, it was always so hard to like have my camera uh, on the right angle. So that took me a while to learn too. And yeah, those are just one of those things that once you pick up, you kind of also like forget about it. But yeah, and there you go. But I'm glad I could help. And please stop me at any time if you have questions. I'm literally here to answer questions and show this process. So I'm I'm just checking to see if I should change her face, which I think that this line right here is a little too harsh. Let me see. If I soften this line right here, yeah, that's more like it. So I do feel like her face might be a little more. Let's see. Yeah. That's when my anatomy went so wrong when I firstly posed model. Yes, that is true. So what I like to do is I've done that so many times until like I realized that when you have the your model uh, rigged, that's better for posing and then going back and forth between understanding your pose and still being able to sculpt. Um, I have seen people that are professionals and they're extremely good in 3D, and they just straight up sculpt their entire character on a pose. So they don't use like symmetry. They just go like they pose their character and then they sculpt from there. Um, which I feel like it's more of a preference thing. I do like to um, rig. Once I have it rigged, I will switch between rest position and pose position. So, for example, if I go to my rig here and I go to pose mode, I will just, I'd say that this is the pose that I want. I can just alternate between pose position and then rest. And then I can keep sculpting on the rest position, but then I can go back to my pose whenever I want. And then I do rest, and then I can sculpt. Eyebrows, 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 eyebrows. Let's do it. So the first thing that I'm gonna do is I'm gonna click on my model to create the eyebrows. I'm gonna go to particles here on my tab, and I'm gonna create a new particle. I'm gonna call it um, brows and hair. For eyebrows, I think I usually go for 0.005. Uh, no, that's too small. 0.001. 0.01. Yeah, there you go. The reason why I like the hair a little bit longer than what it looks is because when you see the hair rendered, it looks shorter than when you see it here. So always go for a little bit longer than what you really want. And then here, I'm going to go to, let me zero this out. First, I zeroed out so I don't have any hair. Hair shape. I'm just gonna leave it like that for now. Okay, I'm just gonna leave it like that. So all that I did was to, after I created the hair, is set the hair length and the number to 0. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come to particle edit, and I'm gonna start with the brows. I'm gonna enable the mirror, so I'm doing on both sides at the same time. And I believe her brow is gonna be somewhere. Have to make this smaller. And all that I'm doing here right now is adding. So I'm gonna add new hair. So select this hair, and I'm gonna comp. Also, I'm gonna rekey all of these hairs. So I click particle, rekey, and I'm gonna do 3 because that's easier to comb. It's so fascinating, right? Yeah. I actually listen. This is why I do this, and I'll do every day if I can. I really love this process. So I also like when I'm doing this, it's important for you to like change perspective so you can kind of see where your hair is. Let's see what we have so far. So the eyebrows are very like this. The strains are longer than they should be. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna go back. I have to add more. Now I'm gonna enable interpolate. I don't even know if I'm saying this right. Interpolate, so I can do hair strings that are gonna copy the pattern. So here and here. There we go. How did I first start building models? So I work as a photographer and videographer, and I've always been into art. I've always been into. I've always like I used to draw faces, um, but as a photographer and videographer, I was just like very tired and exhausted of like my clients, to be honest. Um, so I took the initiative to do something where I could still feel like it was art that could challenge me, but that I didn't have to like deal with anybody. Oh, you're a photographer too? Oh my gosh, that's so funny. That's so funny. Yeah. And I was just so tired of like dealing with my clients. That is so funny. Yeah. So you understand. You understand. I was just like I can't deal with my clients anymore. I still deal with them because I still do it, but obviously I have shifted a lot more to doing 3D now. That is so funny. No, but I think you're going to find yourself. It really is a fascinating process. I love 3D. I love Blender. I love um I love doing this. I think it's so cool. And honestly, it's something where like as a photographer, I was kind of like losing my creative um inspiration. So, yeah, this eyebrow's way too thick. Of course, of course. Thank you. I I feel like it's really like a mutual like support. Like you really support me. I am always here to support you too. And yeah, I'm always also always down to talk about more than just learning Blender, but also just like everything that goes into being an artist, like artist full time, um, and what it takes because it's really not easy. Like mentally, you gotta be very consistent and very like you gotta believe in yourself to do this. but I know that you're gonna love. Like the more that you learn, the easier it gets. So the better it gets. Honestly, it just gets better from like even for like for me that I've been doing characters for a year. Every day it gets easier and it gets better, and it's literally more fun. So let's thin this out a bit. Yeah. Also, it looks purple because I didn't put a material on it. Let's see. Like honestly, I can talk about I can talk about this all day. Not just 3D, but just being an artist. I've been actually working as a photographer and videographer for about 6 years, and I graduated. Before that, I graduated as an architect. So yeah, I went to architecture school, and I already had like so that's where I got like a previous notion of 3D, but doing architecture stuff, architectural projects, it's very different than what we're doing here. It's honestly way more simple. So we're gonna create a new texture for the hair so we can see it better. Um, so I came to shader editor and I created a new slot. So one is gonna be for the skin and the other slot is gonna be for the hair. So I'm gonna create a new material and I'm gonna call it hair. I'm gonna come to particles, browse, and on my render, I'm gonna change the material to hair. And there you go. Now we can see it a lot better. I think in this case, I'm gonna keep it white just so we can see. Yeah, I'm gonna keep it white just so we can see like very well. But there's this like I didn't even notice there's like some strings of hair here. They're definitely not supposed to be like that. Um, so one tip that I've learned is when you have, let's say that I just did this and they're not symmetrical, but you want to make it symmetrical. like you made a mistake and you forgot to enable the symmetry here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna choose the side that I don't want to keep, the side that I'm gonna delete. I'm gonna select all of it, and then I'm gonna press X and delete. I'm gonna select everything that I have left, which is what I want on the other side, and I'm gonna come to mirror. Now notice that when you do that though, if your topology is not right, which in this case it isn't, it's not going to look good. There's a couple of ways that we can fix that, but if I go to waypaint and I put the symmetry on and I put topology mirror, that's gonna, everything that you do now that's the symmetry related, it's going to use the topology. So if I go back to particle edit and then I go to particles and mirror, it's still the same thing. That's weird because see, usually what happens is you're gonna have a clear mirror once you use the topology mirror. Let me see if it's enabled again. Yeah. Okay. So clearly we have an error here with the eyebrow when I mirrored it. So what would I do in this case? I already tried uh, mirroring with topology and it didn't work. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna use the hair that I have here as a guide, and I'm gonna use and I'm gonna add new hair and interpolate, and I'm gonna disable. So I'm just working on this side, and I'm just gonna fill it in with new strands. And now I'm gonna comb these parts that are coming up because they're not right. And if my topology isn't necessarily 100% correct, then I'll just have to, in this case, I'll just have to work with what I have. That's what I would do. They would not be perfectly symmetrical, but nobody's face is symmetrical anyway. And this is already like good enough of a match. And this side though is still like coming more sideways, and this one is like a very beautiful like comb, like coming up. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna work on that side now. And also, I think that on this side right here, there's a lot more hair. That's why it also looks kind of awkward. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm going to remove doubles, which means I'm gonna select all of the hair, remove doubles, and that's gonna create a more uniform distribution of hair. So if I put on like 0.01. Not a significant change. Let me see, 0.05. There you go. As you can see here, it's determining by the area, um, the density of how many hairs you have in that area. So everything that's in the area of 0.05 was deleted and just one strand remains on the in this circumference. So when I go here, both of them look way more similar in how many hairs there is. This one looks a little thicker, but I'm gonna leave it like that because that's what I want. I don't want nothing too uniform. Though, if I look at the reference here, though, her hair is definitely not as her eyebrows are not as thick. But before I do anything to it, let me see what it looks like when it looks black. Okay. Now that's way more like it, but that's still too thick. So what I like to do here is, instead of just coming like, I'm gonna do a I'm gonna make it thinner, right? So instead of just coming here, selecting the top and deleting it, so let me see if that actually looks good. That's not too bad. But there's a more organic way of doing that. And what I would do is I would select random, and it just automatically selects half of all the hairs that you have randomly. This side, I don't want to mess with this side, so I'm just gonna deselect by pressing Control and going over it. And then here, I'm gonna deselect everything that I want to keep the same. So I'm selecting the bottom ones because I just want to erase the ones at the top. Same thing here. See. Okay. So why did I do that? Because when you select the ones at the top through this method, when I delete, there's still hair at the top, but I just deleted half of everything that was at the top. And that gives me a way more natural line than just coming in, erasing everything. So there you go. I can still delete more. But actually, I won't even delete, because now that I think about it, these strands are just too long, and hers is clearly like shorter, so short that you cannot even see the shape of the strings. And also, she does have makeup. She uses makeup to probably darken, because she probably doesn't have a lot of like hair. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm going to come to particles. In children, I'm gonna create simple, and it's this mess right here. So what I'm gonna do is you just have to change the radius. So I usually go for half um, of what the length of the hair is. So if our hair was 0.01, I'm gonna do 0.005. And that's a lot of hair, so I'm just gonna do 1 and 1. I think the radius is still too much. Let's do 2. There we go. That's better. Um, I'm gonna decrease the length, and that looks more like her brow. Yeah, her brow looks different in each picture. But generically speaking, I think that that would be more like it. And then I'm gonna start working on the realism to start making it look more like an more like actual hair. So where do we go from here to make it look more like a hair? Um, we're gonna work on the texture of the hair, the color of the hair, and the flow of the hair. So for the texture, we're gonna come to roughness, and we're gonna change the random to 0.2. It looks way too weird because I didn't increase the steps. So on viewport, I'm gonna do 5 for the strand steps and 5. That increases the quality of the quality of the hair. Mm, let me see. I don't know what those dots are. Oh, it's the root. Okay, the root is coming out for some reason. Um, size. We're gonna decrease the size. Okay. There you go. We decrease the size. Now we're gonna decrease the random amount. Now we're going to add, we're gonna work with the flow now, and I'm gonna add a curl to the hair, and I'm gonna make this curl like 0.001, and I'm gonna work on the shape, so the curl starts from the middle and not from the root, and that gives your hair like a little shape. Now I'm gonna make the hair is too thick. I'm gonna make it a little bit. There you go. This is coming too much from like the side. Let me just work on that really quickly. Particle. Here on options, I'm gonna enable children. And then strands. I'm gonna select them, press Ctrl L, and then I'm just gonna comb those. Honestly, it does look difficult. It does look difficult. It looks like a lot of information, but once you understand, um, like the concept, the execution is a lot easier. Because right now, essentially, all that I'm doing is like combing the hair and tweaking the settings to make it more realistic. So combing and then tweaking, combing and tweaking, and just going back and forth. And then, really, with the tweaking of the settings, it's not something that's like a formula. Every single time that I do this, I just kind of have to um, test out until I get to where I want to get. But it's not it's not something that I can just come and just do it the same way every single time. I'm gonna delete these ones at the bottom. Let me see if that gives a better shape. Yeah, there you go. I still think there's too much eyebrows for her. But let's see, because also the white always makes it stand out. Let me see when it's black. Okay, well, when it's black, it disappears. So, let me change the display amount and let me make a little thicker. Okay. Okay. That's a little bit better. Uh, I think especially this eyebrow, it needs to come further. So let me do that. I'm gonna select it all. I like to select everything when I'm creating new hair because that way I can press Control I and select only the the new hair. I'm gonna press View and Frame Selected, so no matter where I rotate, I can always keep what I selected in frame, and that helps me a lot when I'm um, doing hair. Selecting, View, and Frame Selected. Okay, so I added too much hair. Let me see. I'm just gonna delete, and I'm gonna add, instead of 10, I'm just gonna add maybe like 3. Select everything, 1, 2, 3, 6, 7 strokes. Let's see how that looks. that's better. Let's see in different lights. I do still think that the strands are too long, especially here. Hey man, what's up? I'm glad that you're back. I'm still here. Let's make this shorter. We're just working on the eyebrows. See. Yeah, that looks a lot better. Change the lighting. There you go. I'm gonna increase the amount of strings again. Maybe this is it. It's just so wavy. I'm gonna select those again. View, frame selected, and then let's see how that looks. Okay, that's better. But these strings are definitely so much longer. I'm actually just gonna delete some strings one by one and see how that looks. Okay, I like it. Mm, I don't know, there's just this patch here. It's kind of like just floating there. Let me add one by one. Okay, this is a lot better. Okay, do you guys have any questions so far? I know that we just we did this like quite quickly. From here, I'm definitely gonna like take my time to refine the eyebrows. But this is where it starts. And also, this is not how you would do a texture, not just with the principal BSDF, which is the standard shader for Blender. What I would do is I would come here, add um, when you have questions, you guys are doing on your own. If you have questions, please send them over to me, and I'll literally like answer as quickly as I can. I'm gonna create a new shader. Um, Principal hair, and I'll just make it black. So I'm gonna add a little bit of variation. I'm gonna go to converter color ramp. I'm adding a node, and then input curves info. And if I do strand as the factor, so curves info and then color ramp, and then add this. No, see which one is it. There you go. Mm, there you go. It's intercept. And then, as you can see, it's two colors now. I have one about iris in my model. Yeah, yeah. Go ahead. I think there was some adjustments, and I don't know how to fix it. I restored textures perfectly with your video, but one is black for some reason. Oh, if just one is black, it should be because they're not sharing the same material. So what you want to do is when you come here to the um, shader editor, sometimes we can click this number, and what this number does is it creates a new um, material, though um, they're really the same. But if you start doing changes to one, it's not going to reflect on the other. So you want to make sure that you're sharing the same material. So for example, right now, if I click this number, um, now I have two different materials for each iris. So for example, I'm gonna change the color, and I'm gonna make one um, lighter color and the other one black. So the other reason that it could be is maybe they do share the same material, but um, they do share the same material. Oh, that was it. Oh, cool, cool, cool. But just on the same note, sometimes what happens to me is, let's say that I have these eyes right here, but then I forget that I hid one of them. So sometimes it'll just be hidden, and then you can just click this little eye and it'll come back. Sometimes I do that with my objects. But yeah, it looks so pretty with the eyes like that. I might do that for the when the character is like coming to life, because she it's not supposed to be a um an exact replica of her. She's just the base, and then from here I'm gonna make her a witch, which her hair is gonna be like that. So I'm excited to show you guys how I do this hair, because this is gonna be fun. But anyways, go back to black. Thank you. Right? I I was just playing around to show you, and I was like, wow, these eyes look so good. Um, but let's see. Also, this reflection right here is wrong. This reflection is wrong. So what you want to do when the reflection looks like that is I'm gonna go to my materials, my sclera wet. I'm just gonna work my sclera, so I'm hiding the cornea. And this roughness is just too rough, so let me do like 0.03. Now it creates a much more realistic reflection, because when you look at somebody's eyes, the reflection is actually pretty clear. It's not like fuzzy. It's not like this. The reflection in somebody's eyes is actually pretty clear if you look at close ups. So it'll be more something like this. And then let's see, like the studio. You see how when I put the studio lighting, you can see the shape of the light and everything. This is what you would get in a regular, um, like on your eyes. Um, and as you can see, this is way too white. Let me see. 0.5 to 4. Okay. these eyes look a lot more realistic. But anyways, these eyebrows are killing me. Let me go ahead and change these textures. Okay. So going back to the eyebrows, I want to have some strands that are white and some that are black. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna do random, and instead of linear I'm gonna do constant. So it's gonna randomly choose between black and white. And as you can see, the more I move the white, the more white strands I have. And if the white area is lower, I have less white hairs. And that helps with the realism. But I just don't want to make it too white. I just want to make it enough to bring a more rich eyebrow without it being too white. And I'm gonna also add a little bit of color, a little bit of pigment. Sorry to go nothing for this wonderful opportunity to be live. We'll see you later. Definitely want to rewatch after and share. Yes, absolutely. Also, thank you so much for being here. I am gonna post this on my Patreon, so you can always go back to it. And I'm leaving now too, so that's perfect timing. Again, guys, thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Um, I will keep sharing this project with you guys. And yeah, I'm excited to just create with y'all. Please send me questions and talk to me. See you guys soon.